So, in many spiritual practices the world over, as well as pagan faiths, we see the honoring of the elements and the directions: air, fire, water, earth, and spirit. We will now acknowledge and give honor to the 4 cardinal directions. Today, as I light more flames along with our chalice will serve as our 5th element of spirit. The 4 elements, the reading will come from the hymnal, our hymnal, singing the living tradition. And then I will read a poem that was written by Cole called Calling on Spirit. Spirit of the East, spirit of air, of morning and springtime, be with us as the sun rises, in times of beginning, times of planting. Inspire us with the fresh breath of courage as we go forth into new adventures. Spirit of the South, spirit of fire, of noontime and summer, be with us through the heat of the day and help us be ever growing. Warm us with strength and energy for the work that awaits us. Spirit of the West, spirit of water, of evening and autumn, be with us as the sun sets and help us to enjoy a rich harvest, flow through us a cooling, healing quietness, and bring us peace. Spirit of the North, spirit of earth, of nighttime and water, be with us in the darkness, in the time of gestation. Ground us in the wisdom of the changing seasons as we celebrate the spiraling journey of our lives. And now I would like to read the poem, Calling on Spirit, that was written by Cole. The ever-present force that is everywhere and nowhere, gathered in the center of our being, the seat of our character, spiraling cosmos within a multi-dimensional reflection. Wake up and show us the web of connection. Dwelling within the empty spaces between. Here, everything is more than what they seem. Infinite creative source, loudly speaking silence. Sacred places where impossibilities are nonsense. Divine balance in the transitory shades of gray, mixing, tinting, and toning the spectrum pathway. the core of light and essential being, filling us with insight for more than just seeing.
Before the Common Era, the people who practiced these pagan ways had no religion in the sense of how we use the word today. It is misleading to say that these were such a religion as paganism before the written word. It is difficult to know with any certainty how these or any rural people practice their faiths and beliefs. And yet pagans like us look to what they have left behind, the stories of our ancestors, and much more to find and to forge our own spiritual paths or connections with the divine. Paganism is tough to define because there is no set doctrine that states this is what it means to be a pagan. If you want to be a pagan, you are left to figure it out for yourself and what it means to be spiritual. To the frustration of curious outsiders, defining pagan traditions is often an individual matter and guided by feelings and intuitions. In reality, pagans are very different from each other individually and also in their groupings. The term pagan is from the Latin paganus and pagus meaning villager, rustic, and country district. Pagan was a derogatory term that referred to those peasants and farmers who lived in rural areas, not always about their practiced faith. Today, the term pagan has been used to mean outsider, and its literal definition, according to Webster's dictionary, is a person holding religious beliefs other than those of the main world's religions. Paganism is used as a major umbrella term for any faith practice outside of the main world religions. Essentially, the Abrahamic faiths hold the majority: Christianity, Judaism, or Islam. However, the actual usage of the word today has been and continues to be disputed, especially among the pagan communities. There are other umbrella terms such as neo, modern, and contemporary paganism, with even more possibilities. For those outside of the pagan culture and study, pagan is seen as a single entity, yet as they begin to learn, they find it so much more complex. Please note that within the literal definition of pagan, native, indigenous tribes, African, diasporic faiths, Hinduism, Buddhism, Shintoism, Zoroastrianism, Jainism, Sikhism, Buddhawan, Hoodoo, Santeria, Taoism, and several others have been grouped into the pagan category since they are also not part of the world main religions. Plus the fact that many pagans also mix and bring in their own ideologies into their own practice. However, please know that these faiths do not wish to be called pagan, a Latin word that was used in part to fuel the reasons why these faiths were trampled upon in history and still today. As a community of differences, we strive to allow for growth, change, and transition, especially when it concerns an individual's right to find and label their own spiritual path. There is a difference between pagan religions and what they may practice as a philosophy during a ritual or in their personal lives. The philosophical practices they may incorporate into their life faith, like witchcraft, tarot, oracle cards, spirit boards, palmistry, scrying, astrology, Kabbalah, shamanism, hermeticism, necromancy, runes, chaos magic, to name a few, also stand in their own as philosophies. There are many who do not call themselves pagan or practice a particular pagan path, but still practice these philosophies in their daily lives, even if it is not part of their religion.
There are many different pagan faiths with subdivisions within each of them. However, there are some traditions that tend to come up in conversation more than others, and based on their size, visibility, or amount of publicity, have become more well-known. These include Wicca, Druidism, Asatru, Hellenism, Kemetism, Brujeria, Curanderia, Druidism, Celtic, Thelema, New Age, and metaphysical. Each of these also have many variations. Wicca is the most recognizable pagan faith. It emerged in the 1950s with Gerald Gardner as the leader of this new religious movement. Since then, it has evolved into a rich variety of faiths. Some of the major components of Wicca include rituals, ceremonial magic, and the celebration of the 8 sacred seasonal cycles. The faiths mentioned are just the most common ones that come up when pagans are discussed. Please remember that pagans are not limited to just these. They are pagan, but never assume that a pagan is just one of the above. Pagan paths are polytheistic and see the earth as sacred. The beliefs and practices vary wildly between traditions, location, groups, and individuals. This is in part because pagans do not have set doctrines like the Abrahamic faiths. Most pagan traditions tend to have general guidelines than actual rules. However, there are common and not so common beliefs or ideas held by most pagans that define where one tradition ends and another begins. For most pagans, the dynamics of the cyclical changing seasons and the interplay between darkness and light are fundamental. And all of these things are expressions of deeper truths. By making a conscious choice to be active participants in the ebb and flow of the natural world, pagans find harmony. Through personal or traditional rituals and the honoring of elements, seasons, nature, and so much more, pagans can slow down the mundane and reflect on past experiences, present situations, the whole future, and what it all means to them. There is also a respect for all life and the desire to participate with life rather than dominate it. Pagan paths are experiential, experience being a major part of the magic, energy, and prayer practiced and exercised. Magic, chi, prayer, spell, and energy are all synonymous. These are a few ways in which pagans focus their thoughts and achieve their goals, in the same way that someone practices affirmations and the power of positive thinking. Magic is a means for pagans to focus their will towards their intention in the hope of manifesting their desire. The seasons and the natural world are common threads that span most pagan beliefs. The seasonal cycles of the year, each with a different emphasis, are seen by most pagans as a model for spiritual growth and renewal. These changes in the seasons and their sequences are marked by a variety of festivals, rituals, and/or celebrations. Each seasonal change offers access to different energies or divine spirits according to their affinity with that time of year. There are as many ways as there are pagans that these seasonal changes are celebrated and acknowledged the world over. The spirit of place is recognized in most pagan faiths, whether as a personified natural feature, such as a mountain, lake, or spring, or as a fully articulated guardian spirit, or deity, such as a goddess or god. Seeing our earth as a mother, and sometimes as a father, or other divine spirit is also common among pagans.
This image will help you visualize the 4 different levels of deity that pagans might embrace individually or in their entirety. The creators of the tradition of Greencraft Wicca use this model to explain this multi-level religion, However, I believe this is also a good model for pagans in general. The monotheistic level, not in a sense that there is one God and nothing more, but more in that there is one divine reality or something that denotes the ultimate unity of all things. The bitheistic level is this unity divided into the masculine and feminine aspects inherent in all nature. Although the Wiccan tradition incorporates all four levels in order to understand the whole, the balance of male and female is emphasized throughout all its teachings and rituals. The polytheistic level is one where many gods and goddesses represent the divine characteristics of the male and female of the bitheistic level. Carl Jung's discussion of archetypes can also be applied here. This chart uses the name of the gods and goddesses of the pagan tradition, Greencraft, which reflect this tradition's Celtic and Norse heritage. However, these names can be replaced with others better suited to a person's or a group's particular faith. The pantheistic level recognizes the divine spark in all creation, be it rock, animal, or plant. In African traditions, this level would be called animistic, from the word anima, meaning soul. Even among Christians, beliefs vary in their interpretations of the Bible. There are Christian pagans who claim that the pagan ways help them to connect more with their God than ever before. Paganism allows the individual to mix belief systems if the individual so chooses. The term for this is syncretism. This is why you might hear someone call themselves a Christian Wiccan or a Celtic Christian. Pagans are not so much different than Unitarian Universalists. Unitarians ask why, and so do pagans. Each is a community striving for a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, a respect for the interdependent web of all existence, and the inherent worth and dignity of each human being, all unified under the umbrella of spiritual growth. When you say I am pagan to people, it conjures, pun intended, all sorts of wild ideas about sacrificing babies and summoning demons. None of this is true. Paganism is not the worship of the Abrahamic religion Satan, nor does it involve sacrificing babies or animals or involve sadistic ritual abuse. It most certainly does not include cannibalism, child murder, torture, or incestuous orgies. It is not Dungeons and Dragons or Harry Potter. Hollywood and pop culture portray paganism in a way to be entertaining and add shock value than actual facts. However, be also aware that pop culture does influence individual pagan theologies. For example, Greencraft uses the elven language from The Lord of the Ring and the rituals, or a new theology rising from an online game called Skyrim, where dragon imagery, language, and honoring are done within a Wiccan format. The point is, it is important to make your own way to connect with your own spiritual path and on your own terms and in your own time. You don't have to let anyone tell you how to find and honor the divine. It is totally up to you. We're now going to reintroduce ourselves as to what our own personal paganism is. My name is Rob. My paganism can best be described as Norse Germanic heathenry, or Asatru if you prefer. Asatru roughly translates to faith in the Asir. However, this does not encompass the breadth of beliefs of those who consider themselves Asatru. For many who are Asatru, the Asir are not the only ones in which belief and honor are applied. For many, the Vanir, ancestors, land spirits, etc., are honored as much, if not more. The term heathen is generally an umbrella term for those of us who follow the Northern tradition in any of its wide scopes. However, we can break this term down. We have Asatru, Vanatru, which is belief in the Vanir, Rocker, Foreign Seder, Theodoism, Odinism, etc. All these belief systems stem from the same Northern European Germanic roots and are extremely similar, if not the same in many aspects.
I've been practicing Wicca since January 2011. I first learned about Wicca on the internet when I was a junior in high school. After I graduated high school, I started reading books about Wicca, witchcraft, and other neo-pagan faiths. When I went to a university, I joined a pagan student fellowship organization. There I learned about Asatru and Thelema, then started practicing them. I do practice witchcraft a little whenever I have the time and space, but do not consider myself a witch yet. I am currently an eclectic neo-pagan.
My name is Cole. I have been a practicing pagan and an active member in the local pagan community for over 11 years. I was first mentored into my pagan faith by a local centero, expanding my faith through Mayan myth and astrology, to then receive study and degree recognition by the Sibylline Order of Wicca and the tradition of Greencraft Wicca. I am also a lover of science and quantum physics and tend to blend my beliefs with the knowledge I have gained from the sciences. I call myself an eclectic spiritualist. The term eclectic comes from Greek, which means choosing the best, picked out, and variety. Throughout history, the term eclectic has been applied to architecture, arts, martial arts, philology, philosophy, psychology, and more recently, religion and belief systems. Eclecticism as a practice is considered to be, quote, a conceptual approach that does not hold rigidly to a single paradigm or set of assumptions, but instead draws upon multiple theories, styles, or ideas to gain complementary insights into a subject or applies different theories in particular cases. I ask why a lot, and I try to think outside the box.
I'm Christina. I started asking why at a very young age, and soon thereafter, I started saying, why not? I received a strong foundation in the Lutheran Church. The concept of the Trinity for me was challenging. Original sin and the devil made no sense at all. I liked Jesus, but I couldn't grasp that he was my one and only Savior. His teachings of unconditional love and forgiveness have stayed with me. They have also caused me to see much hypocrisy with people who call themselves Christians. This was really evident back in the 60s with civil rights, women's rights, and gay rights, for starters. And now we're dealing with much of the same. As I explored other religious traditions, I quit being Lutheran, and I no longer considered myself a Christian. I kind of sort of knew about pagans, but didn't want to give up one label for another. Over the years, I've learned about pagan rituals and ceremonies, different symbolisms, tools, and traditions. I don't claim a specific pagan path, but I am a proud, card-carrying member of the Covenant of Unitarian Universalist Pagans. And I have it right here, my 3-year membership. Hopefully I'll become better educated about paganism, have an opportunity to spend time with other like-minded people, and enjoy participating in the beautiful, satisfying, and fulfilling pagan rituals and ceremonies. Our newly formed UUNB CUUPs, which is the Covenant of Unitarian Universalist Pagans, is off to a great start. We are our membership is fully recognized by the people in charge. CUUPs International, yes. So we're part of a very large group. And if you're curious to know more about anything we've said, about any ideas you have carried about pagans, please talk with us. Just ask, because you'll always be welcome. So we say farewell to the sacred elements and directions. We thank you for the part they play in your lives. And as I extinguish the chalice, Spirit, we know Spirit is within us and all around us. Even as I douse this flame, Spirit is never gone.